Today we're going to show you how to change the Icemaker motor kit on your refrigerator, and it's a really easy job. All we're going to need is a Phillips screwdriver, a flat blade screwdriver, and a 1/4 inch nut driver. Let me show you how we do it. Now, to do this repair, it's easier to remove the Icemaker from the refrigerator. So we'll start by opening the freezer door. Next, we're going to lift up the access door, reach in and turn the Icemaker off. Just lift the shut-off arm up into the off position. Then we'll remove the ice bin. So lift up on the front of that, pull it forward, and we'll set that aside. Now next we'll need to remove a 1/4 inch hex head screw from below the Icemaker, and as well as we'll loosen the two that are on the sidewall above the Icemaker. Now it's a little difficult to see these two screws that support the Icemaker that are mounted on the side, but you could possibly use a mirror or just feel the location of them with your fingers first, and then we'll just loosen them 3 or 4 turns. Now once we've loosened them, we're going to lift up on the Icemaker to release it from those 2 screws. Now once we've released the Icemaker from those 2 mounting screws, we'll lower it down enough so that we can clear the fill tube at the back and then tilt it out. Now with the Icemaker lowered down, we'll have access to the wire harness. Some models will have a disconnect plug at the back that we simply need to unhook the harness. Others will be connected directly to the front of the Icemaker, such as this particular model. So to release that harness, we need to pop the front cover off. And then you will note a locking tab on the wire harness connector. We need to depress that with our flat blade screwdriver and then push that connector out through the back and then unlatch it on the little clip on the mold of the Icemaker. And then we can take that Icemaker and set it on a suitable work surface where we can do the repair. Now with the Icemaker on a suitable work surface, we can do our repair. So we're going to start by removing the shut-off arm. So simply pull it out through the little hole in the back of the fill cup and then pull it out of the opening on the Icemaker head and just set that aside. Now next we're going to remove 3 Phillips screws on the front, and then we can slide that motor assembly completely away from the front and discard it. Now we suggest that you replace all of the parts in the kit, although you may find that the fill cup for the back is different than what you have, and if that's the case, do not replace that. We'll reuse the original one on it, but if not, put the new one on. So next we're going to remove 2 Phillips screws that are accessible inside here. And that will allow us to pull that Icemaker head away from the mold so that we can remove the side chute and the ejector arm. We'll discard both of those. We'll install the new ejector arm into that bearing at the very back as part of the fill cup. And we'll also install the new chute on the side. There are a couple of clips that attach to the front and one to the back. So we'll line that tab up in the back with the slotted opening. And then make sure we engage the tab on the front. We can now take that Icemaker head, line up the 2 probes, push it firmly into position, and then replace the 2 screws through the front. Now before we tighten these screws completely, make sure that the tab on the front of that chute or guide is in its proper position, and then tighten them securely. Now next we're ready to install the new motor assembly. You'll note that the drive gear is a D-shaped gear that will line up with that ejector arm. So we want to rotate that arm, make sure that it lines up properly. And the motor assembly will go in with the motor in the top right hand corner, and that should leave the ejector levers in that position. You can now replace the 3 screws that hold that motor assembly in place. And now we're ready to put the shutoff lever in place. You'll note on the back side of that motor housing there is a slotted opening, and the long portion of that shutoff arm will fit into there. Make sure it's fully inserted, and then take the back and clip it into the opening in the fill cup, and it should lift up and stay in the shutoff position, and also drop freely into the on position. Now we're ready to put the Icemaker back into the refrigerator. Now to reinstall the Icemaker, our first step will be to reconnect the wire harness. So we should put the Icemaker in the shutoff position. And we'll line that harness up along the side. Make sure it's fully inserted and that the locking tab engages. And then we'll clip that harness into the side of the Icemaker, that little metal tab. And next, we'll need to make sure that we have the fill cup and the fill tube lined up properly. So we tilt that up into position, and we'll lift the Icemaker up onto the 2 mounting screws on the side, and then just let it hang there. We'll next tighten those 2 screws. Now with the 2 screws on the side tightened up, we'll next put the 1 screw in the bottom, tighten that securely. You now put the cover back on the Icemaker. Make sure it snaps on tight. You can next put the ice bin back in place. Make sure it's back all the way and it's locked in position so that you can't pull it ahead easily. We can now turn the Icemaker on. Just drop the arm down into the lower position. And our repair is complete.